Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you should be from. I hope it is good. This is GreenBean, and welcome to New York Jets Worldwide. We're excited today. I can't keep it in. I am excited. I can't lie to you either. To help me share this excitement with you, I'm going to bring on my co-host, who is just waking up way out there on the west coast of the United States in California. Let's bring him in. The Wonder Boy himself, Jeremy Cravat. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Huh? Oh.
Yeah, see?
Hey, GreenBean, what's up, man? Morning.
Ah,
I didn't want to oversleep, so I just put the computer on yesterday and had it ready.
that's it. Right. So, that's the thing, and he leaves this thing on. So, technically speaking, I can check on him whenever I want. I just sign on, and there he is in front of the computer. That's how we roll here. This way, never, ever late. And I commend you for it, Jeremy. So, what's going on today out there? Anything all right? Anything up? Everything good?
I'm a couple of days off of. We're going to leave in about 48 hours. I'll be in a car, probably 3 hours, probably going through LA because I'm heading down to San Diego for the holiday. So you're going south and I'm going south.
Nice. You're staying, what, for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I'm gonna go down and see my brother in San Diego, his immediate family. So we're gonna go down there and spend like 5 days, hit some breweries and eat some turkey and do all that fun stuff.
That's awesome. I love San Diego. I love a place called Vision Beach and Coronado Beach. Coronado Beach, there's something in the sand that when the waves roll, there's glitter and gold in the sand. It's some sort of formica kind of thing, and it looks like gold ribbons in the sand. Isn't that amazing? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have a very good friend, one of my closest friends from college. Her and her husband live on Coronado. So they upgraded their real estate their whole lives. They owned a business, sold it for a profit, and saved and saved and saved because their dream was to live on Coronado, and that's where they live. So every time I'm there, yeah, it's great because you visit them, and visiting them means dinner and then walking around Coronado and walking, through the resorts, and they do these big barn fires, and it's beautiful.
Yep, and Coronado Beach is the softest sand I ever felt. And don't forget, I've lived in Miami Beach. I've been, I've been all over the country, obviously. Softest sand in the country from what I've experienced so far is none other than Coronado Beach in San Diego. Everybody should go there. But let's do this. Speaking of beaches and warm weather and all that, we have a guest. He's sitting there. I'm staring at him right now. He doesn't know that, but I'm looking right at him. And we are excited to bring him on. Jeremy, he's from Australia. We have an Australian Jets fan for us today. Isn't that awesome?
All the way down under. I love it.
Yeah, it's incredible. So let's get this started. Let's bring on our guest for today, none other than Bizmo Charismo, the Australian Jets fan. How you doing this morning, Bizmo?
Very good. Thank you. Hello. Welcome. Hello, GreenBean, Jeremy, everybody. It's great to be here. Really is.
We're happy to have you. We're happy
Tell
to
everybody
have you.
what time it is there.
It's just after 2 a.m. in the morning. So Sunday morning here.
Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So if you move your head a little bit to your left, everybody could see the clock to see you're not lying. I mean, technically speaking, he could have messed with the clock, but why? Why would you do that? It's a little after 2 a.m. So that shows something, man. And I really appreciate it. It shows your dedication to trying to accomplish something with us. We've been talking for a little while, asking you if you would come on and share with everyone how it is that you became a Jets fan, but it's not easy for you having to stay awake or wake up for, at 2 a.m. So number one, thank you. Number two, kudos, man. You're a rock star, dude. You really are. I'm impressed.
Oh, it's a pleasure is all mine. So thanks for having me on. Let me be a part of it.
Right on. So let's get it started. Number one, I think, let's say hello to some people, and you might recognize some of them. We have the ever-present Phil Adams. There he is. He says, UK Jet reporting for duty for this USA to Oz link. Okay, Oz.
Aussie link up.
You should ask Phil Adams how he thinks they're going to go on the Ashes this year.
On the
you guys
Ashes?
Probably won't understand that, but
nope, I don't get it.
It's a cricket reference.
Oh yeah, cricket
Oh,
too, huh? That's a
Yeah.
whole different thing. I don't know anything about cricket, man. Nothing. I mean, it's, soccer, football, okay, we could, even some rugby and things like that, but cricket completely escapes me. Isn't that funny? I don't know anything about it. So we have Anders is here. What's up, Anders? Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports, and that is Mr. John Post's fantasy website or YouTube page, I should say, and everybody should support him as well. New York Sports MC is in the house. Eminon's here. Momo Adamo, Broadway Joel. What's up, Joel or Joel? Sorry, but Broadway Joel also has a boxing YouTube page, and it's awesome, man. He's really good at it. He's getting it started, but I love it. I've watched a few of his vids. AC is here. Matt Simon, my old buddy from the message board days. Thanks for being here, everybody, and we're going to get this started. So my first question to you, Bizmo, is let's just go right at the heart of this thing. Why the Jets? And how did you get exposed to American football? And tell us how you went from being an Australian, learning about American football, and then ultimately the Jets. Talk about that, if you would.
Wow, big question. I suppose there's a real simple answer and there's a long answer. Let's go the long answer.
Yeah.
I always say you don't choose the Jets choose you. And what I mean by that is that if you really wanted to pick a team that was a team that you'd follow, potentially Jets might not be it. But American football has probably grown in popularity in Australia. It's always, we've always had it here. We've watched it. Super Bowls are massive, I think, all around the world. So everyone sort of is aware of the sport. But I can remember when I was a kid, I would have been 10 or so. We used to have like a show on ABC. It was an American guy that hosted. His name was Don Lane. And he was sort of, a bit of a TV personality here in Australia. I think he used to go for an hour, and they used to show like 30 minutes of highlights and like 30 minutes of a game from memory. But I remember watching that on Saturday afternoons, just thinking, like obviously any sport I was massively into, but I remember watching it just thinking, oh, gee, this is, it was sort of like bigger than Ben-Hur kind of thing, these gladiators going at it. I never played. Well, we have different codes, like football codes here in Australia, but I never really played football. I was pretty involved in soccer. So I was probably more keen with that, just watching the EPL and stuff. But I can remember also about that time, I had a Los Angeles Raiders hat that was given to me. So that was the first sort of apparel that I had. But that never actually stuck. I don't know why, but I can still remember the hat. It was a cool hat. Anyway, as you get older, I sort of went off soccer a little bit, and probably in my late teens, early 20s, I got a bit more interested in the American football, and I'd watch it pretty casually. But it was fun because you could just watch any sort of team and enjoy it, I suppose. And then we sort of progress as we do in interests, and I got more and more into it, and I was watching it probably more regularly, and you get a little bit more understanding of the game. I went to the States in early 2000s. My brother lives in the States, actually, just out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I went sort of on a bit of a world trip and spent some time in the States, and I went to some basketball games, and he actually took me to a Carolina Panthers game. And they were playing Atlanta Falcons. I remember it was when Michael Vick was playing for Atlanta. So it was around that sort of era. He paid for me to go, which was really nice. And I remember thinking, this is a great game. I really enjoyed it. I like how it's kind of like a chess match. There's two sides to it. It's very strategic. That was the year. So I can't remember. That was the year that Carolina Panthers, they made it to the Super Bowl that year. So was that 2004 or something like that? It'll be around that kind of.
They
Right.
played New
Like,
England.
The first
Or the
time they
Rams.
made it, not with Cam Newton, but yeah. Anyway, I think was it Jake Delhomme was their quarterback? Anyway, I can't really remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went away from there, and I suppose he's a Carolina Panthers fan because he sort of lives there. He married an American girl, so they live there, and but they went for me. So there was another brief touch with the team, I suppose. So then we get to sort of like 2010, 11, 12, and I'm watching it. I wasn't necessarily watching the Jets closely, but they were kind of good then. And then they sort of probably started to go downhill, and that's when I decided, look, I need to get a team here. I'm sick of casually watching. So the short answer, which is here we can go now, is that we have a code in Australia called Rugby League. So there's Rugby Union, which is probably what you guys might refer to when we say rugby, but we have a code here called Rugby League that's played in mainly the northern states. And that's what I grew up really supporting. And where I was born, there was a team, still is, a team called the Ipswich Jets. And so I was like, when you're Jets for life. And it was pretty easy to sort of jump on board the team because I definitely like the color green, and that's what color the Jets are here.
Oh, wow.
So it's probably like a fan going from one code to another and following through on the name. And I tell you, I could have picked a better team, but
You could have. Maybe.
As I said before, mate, the Jets choose you. You don't choose them. So, but I'm happy. I think it's great. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride, but yeah, it's good to be part of it. I think one day we're going to be good again, guys. One day we're going to
win. So you now sounds like around 10 years since you've gotten deep into it. When it all started. Have you found first, let's say the more general question, have you found other NFL fans, places where there are other NFL fans gather? And then secondly, have you found a specific area where there are other Jet fans in your neck of the woods that you eat with and watch games with?
Yeah, so it's probably not so much like my friendship groups. Some of them are pretty heavily involved in or interested in the NFL. So I think most people are aware of it now who like sport here in Australia. There's some diehard fans. Surprisingly, my neighbor is also a Jets fan. And when I moved here, which was probably 2010, my neighbor, Paul, good dude, he was mowing the lawn one day and he had a Jets hat on. And I said, "Hey, you're a Jets fan?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, "I don't know why I am." But he alternates between a Jets hat and he also has a Green Bay Packers hat. I think he likes both sort of teams. But it seems like Jets is his favorite team. And yeah, so we casually talk about it from time to time. It's not too many Jets fan. My cousin, who's annoying, is a Patriots fan. So I've suffered. But he's one of those dudes that he just supports the teams that are winning.
Yep.
And, he's a glory hunter.
And so Tom Brady left, and all of a sudden he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. So that really grates on me when people do that. But
I could not agree more. It bothers me a little bit because look, we're the type of fan base, especially we're on a live stream right now. There's a group of people in the live stream, all of us Jets fans. We're clearly putting our time in here. So when somebody's just bebopping around, whoever the good team is, they're like, yeah, Patriots, Bucks, whoever it is, Chiefs. It does kind of, it finds its way in to bothering me because it's like, hey man, commit, pick your team and deal with the good and the bad. But a lot of people have no interest in doing that. I tell this story all the time, Bizmo. I lived in Miami and for 15 years, and the Heat, when LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, all those guys for the basketball team, the Heat, you could not buy a ticket to that. There was a waiting list. Way upper deck were $500. You couldn't get in. And the year that LeBron James left, I'm not kidding, the next year they were putting packages on Groupon for tickets. All those fans, boop, out. They all left because they were only there for the party. They were only there for the fun. And I guess look, if somebody's just like, hey, man, I just want to have a good time, I guess you can't blame them. But for guys like us, we're in here, dealing with the tough times. It's bothersome when somebody.
Well, I think that's a how you define one way you could define a real fan or a true fan. Is it do or die? You're still there, you still support them, you still find some positivity. It's funny. I was talking to my neighbor just yesterday, actually, and I was talking about how things were going, and he's like, "You've got to be the most positive Jets fan ever. You're always got a positive spin on it." And I said, "Oh, mate, no, there's way more positive people out there than me." But I said, you've got to be positive. What else is there? You've got to look for the best.
Yeah, it's tough. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I always want to ask fans that are negative. I mean, and they're friends, they're Jets fan right here in the chat. And, some of them that are just always completely negative. And I said, and I always think, is there any joy in this for you? Like, if you're not going to sit there and go on the hope and go on and try to find the positives, how is it enjoyable? Like, if you're just always angry at everything they do, and that's so stupid, and I hate that, and they're stupid, and this player stinks, and that player stinks, and they're stupid for using that player, and it's almost like it's a different thing for those kind of fans. Those fans, it's more of an outlet of their anger and their frustration, and the Jets provide that for them. With me, it's like this, my own personal Rocky story. I'm waiting for that underdog Cinderella story and be part of that comeback and part of that when they eventually do win, which I hope happens in my lifetime. No one's going to be happier than us. And the negative people will be happy too. But I'm just saying, for me, it's going to be that kind of story. Yeah. That'll be the year that my life hits its apex, when the Jets win the Super Bowl.
I suppose you can understand, because, recent results, you can sort of see they've been quite painful. But when, I've only been doing this for a decade, but you can see people who've been doing it decade after decade. You can see that it's pain and hurt on top of year after year after year. And it just comes out in frustration. And it's probably, you can be a bit more objective when you're only in a couple of years, or been following a couple of years, to sort of go, look, we're in a rebuild. It's actually, if you look at it objectively, it's kind of going okay, or relatively well. There's good, there's bad, but it could be worse. It could definitely be better. So I think next year is a real crunch year for the Jets.
I think so too. So let me say, so you said you were a fan, you've been a fan for about a decade. So that would lead us to believe the Rex Ryan era is when you found your way to really committing to the Jets. And those were exciting times. Yeah. They really were. Yeah. But now, including them, we've had those couple years up front they were the best. They were fun. We were mean. We were nasty. We almost made the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. And then it's been largely disappointment. We've had 3 head coaches, Rex Ryan, Todd Bowles, Adam Gase, and now Saleh, obviously. What has been your favorite moment as a Jets fan so far, from Rex Ryan to now? What stands out to you as one of the moments that really solidified your Jets fandom?
Look, you sort of tap in and out to a lot of different things, but I suppose the best moment was probably, and it's going to sound really strange, but it was probably, I believe it was the 2015 season. We had a lot of free agents that we bought. Fitzmagic was playing. I actually made it to a game in the States that year. It was the game they played the Washington Redskins, and I think we went 10-6.
Yeah.
And we blew it in the last game up in Buffalo. Rex really nailed us. And I suppose that I'd been, going for a few years, and it kind of like it was a new coach. Todd was there, and it was sort of like a bit of a new beginning, and things were going great. I mean, 10-6 in many other years we would have made, the playoffs or been in wild card position or something like that. But to lose it on that morning, I remember I was watching the game and I almost destroyed the TV. Because I could see, and I made a comment to one of my friends who was a work colleague, and I said, he said, "Oh, you seem to have taken this loss really bad." And I said, I kind of felt like at that stage that was the last year, that we could have made the playoffs, because I could sort of see that it was not going up. If anything, it was
right.
It was, and I was like, that this is the opportunity. We missed the opportunity to just make the playoffs, which doesn't sound, that great, but for a Jets fan, it was, it was really, it was what you follow every team for, isn't it? Really, is to have a chance at the pointy end of the season. So, I suppose that was, I really enjoyed that season. I followed it closely. I was able to go to a game. I was back in the States that year. And, geez, that was annoying. All those picks in that game. I was like, far out, mate. What are you doing? But, so then we went through some lean years after that. I think I got really sort of on board with Sam Darnold. Like I had a lot of mates that follow college football over here, and they had great things to say about him. They're like, "No, don't worry, mate. You guys are going to be great now." And, you buy into that. And it's just, obviously you can see how that plays out. It's so difficult to pick who's going to be a good college quarterback. And I think where you go plays a lot into that as well, the opportunities you're given. Anyway, we hope that Zach goes well. I actually I got a jersey. It came this week.
Show it to us. Let me see it.
I'm running a Zach. I'm running a Zach jersey.
I'm running a Zach.
I decided, I actually had a Mekhi Becton one, but I bought it, and it was, buying it through maybe not the proper avenues, let's just say. We maybe buying a cheaper version from another country. But I bought a Mekhi Becton one because I was thinking, who is actually going to be there and stay there for a long time? I also had a Tim Tebow one that a friend bought me from the States many years ago. I unsold that one a few years ago. So I bought a Mekhi Becton one, but it was just too massive. And then I sold that on. And I didn't have one for this sort of year, and I finally pulled the pin and bought one the same week that Mike White came out and threw for 400 yards, and I was like, "Oh dear, what have I done here?" And then
that's funny.
And then he came out and played all right in that first quarter. I was like, "Oh man!" But anyway, that's sort of run its course, I would say, but. Which is unfortunate, because wouldn't have that been just an amazing story to ride that all the way through the season?
It would have. It was fun. And I wish Jets fans didn't get so polarized, like on one side, and like, no, Zach's our quarterback, no, Mike White. I wish we would have just enjoyed it as a fan base. Like, it is what it is, man. Like, we won a game. We saw an historic game from a first-time starter. They even put his jersey in the Hall of Fame. It was fun if you allowed it to be. And like you said, it would have been a great story. And hey, why not have that story? But clearly it didn't work out, and we still have Zach waiting to come in. So it's all good. But I think I was able to enjoy that one. I had a really good time those couple weeks. Even in the Colts game, I had a good time. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen for us. So Jeremy, he talked about 2015, and I could hear it in his voice. He went,
Yeah. And right away, right away, I thought you and me, the Mud Bowl. I thought you and me, 1998, Denver. I thought 2004 in Pittsburgh, the field
Yeah.
goals after we beat San Diego. Like there's just so many of those moments throughout, scattered through the last 4 decades. It's incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just tough, but I could hear it in his voice. It was funny, like how just like that was a great example, like the Doug Bryan 2 missed field goal playoff game. And when we talk about it, we're like, like we were close. We almost had it. So what do you got
hard
for
me. It was hard for me because I was at that San Diego game before that Pittsburgh game with the missed field goals. Like I was in San Diego at the game, risked my life, almost got myself killed, and Pennington to Santonio. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is our chance. And I'm all ready to play New England in an AFC championship game. We're setting up for this field goal and, he missed, but
incredible.
Just crazy. But so we feel you, Bizmo, man. It's been me and GreenBean are both coming on 40 years.
Wow. Yeah. Still so positive as well. I mean, it's great. It's a good trait to have. It's called being long suffering.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look at Jeremy, look at what AC is saying. So the AC says, I feel like I need to apologize to Bizmo on the Jets' behalf. This dude is dedicated from halfway around the world, and this is what we give you. But the good news is, you're not alone. You know what I mean? You're not alone.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you got for him, Jeremy?
Oh, I'm just wondering, was there any time in the last 3 or 4 years that you're any temptation at all? Like maybe I need a second team. I mean, I'm not going to think that you would totally give up and say, I'm not going to be a Jets fan, but maybe were you ever tempted to find another team to also root for so you could just kind of like ride that team for a while until the Jets were competitive?
Have some fun.
Listen, the short answer is no. And I suppose the reason is that I just just doesn't sit right, doesn't feel right. When I was younger, this is another code, but you said that you know a little bit about soccer, GreenBean, but the EPL, so the English Premier League. I was probably about 9 or 8. And I started following a team called Newcastle United. And if people are listening in England, they kind of know that they have been pretty rubbish too. So it's I don't know why I seem to pick teams like that. But so I've already had experience in being extremely long suffering with a particular team. But just recently, that team got bought by some Saudi owners, and they're going to have all the cash, and hopefully they're going to make it really big soon. So decade after decade after decade, it's finally, it comes good somehow. It's going to come good, guys. You just got to stick with it.
Right. And then we will be the truly happy fan base because we weathered all the bad times. We put in the hard work. We stuck by them. And then we get rewarded.
It makes it so much sweeter when you work hard for something. Not that we're really doing the work, but
Well, right. But hey, man, it feels like work, doesn't it?
It feels like work.
Yeah. So, it's really cool, man. It's really cool to be able to talk to a fella like yourself. Let me do this. Here I am. I'm talking now. So it's really cool to be able to talk to someone like you who is, outside of our normal purview. Most Jets fans, the largest concentration is up there in the Northeast, in the tri-state area. We have obviously Long Island and Queens, but New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that's the largest concentration. And then we kind of spread out. We got, all around the United States, and obviously guys like Phil Adams in the UK. And we have a few guys from Germany who check in Malaysia, and then someone like yourself. It's so incredibly cool. But now I want to get your perspective on what we're looking at now. And then I'd like to bring the chat in. The chat are, they're throwing some questions and some comments, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. But let me ask you right now, like you said, the Mike White thing didn't turn out. Zach is still kind of not 100%. So we're looking at Joe Flacco coming in. What are your thoughts on this game? Do you think Joe Flacco can come in and maybe give us a win and, you know, at least bring the positive vibes back into the building? Do you see that, or do you think that this year is basically a wash and we're probably not going to win many more? What's your perspective on all that?
Okay, that's a lot in there. So try and unpack it a little bit with my professional opinion.
That's right.
Look, I don't actually like them playing Joe Flacco this weekend. I get that Mike White played terrible last week. I think he probably should have been benched last week. Bring Flacco in, give him a break, but play Mike White this week to really see, hey, do you have someone who's capable and can bounce back when they've had an absolute shocker? Or is he sort of in above his head and he played out of his skin for a couple of games? The reason why I probably have that opinion is that you want to identify, I mean, they were pretty keen on him all the way through the start of the year, it would appear, with not bringing someone in. And you know, you hear all this stuff after the fact about, you know, if Joe Flacco wanted to be here, he would be here. And then Joe sort of says, well, I didn't get a contract and, you know, I had to go where I thought I was going to get the best opportunity to play and all of this sort of stuff. I mean, you can look at it on one side and kind of go, which I don't like, is it seems like they're hearing outside noise. There's a bit of pressure there. People they kind of almost like they need a win to appease the fans. Whereas I suppose maybe I'm a little bit more patient and I don't want that to sound, you know, come across as, you know, I suppose arrogant in a way or something. But like, I would much rather see them, like, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. So we may as well see what we've got. And I know that's been said so many times, but gee, I mean, are we not the youngest team in the NFL? We've got to be close to it.
We are.
So, you know, go with that. Understand that's where we're at. And I know it's difficult because people always want to win. But as a Jets fan, I mean, if you win, gee, it feels good that week, doesn't it?
It does.
So, but I kind of feel like if we win with Flacco, it's not as good as like a competitive loss with Mike White. So, I mean, obviously we're still hoping that Zach is going to come back and he can sort of reboot himself, and looks like he's talented, looks like he can play, but it's just it's whether he can be a good quarterback. That's the thing. But I'm hoping that he can. I mean, I'm probably a little bit more measured now. I probably bought in too much to the Sam Darnold, you know, vibe, hype train sort of thing. So I'm a little bit more, I suppose. Let's wait and see. That's probably how I'd put it. But yeah, I mean, and even trading for Joe Flacco when they did, you can sort of get the processes that they're going through. You know, injuries happen. There's contingency plans in place. Josh Johnson, I thought played okay, but they were probably surprised by that. I think.
Yeah,
I think they might not have. He came in, which I mean, he played in the preseason and played well. You know, came in and did what was required, and I suppose that's what you need in a backup. But you know, Joe Douglas, I think he's doing a good job. I'm a big fan. I think that you know, things haven't. You can see a plan there. The plan hasn't gone well due to, you know, things mainly out of his control, injuries, you know, and so on and so forth. I mean, the coaching staff is. Oh, you hope for good things, but maybe a little bit concerning at the moment. But yeah, anyway, I like Joe. I think that he's got a plan. You can see that it's coming to fruition.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of whether it actually does gel and it works, because you can have all the plans in the world, but if you don't actually start winning, then he probably loses his job in a year or two, I'd say.
I hope not, because just like you said, I mean, I can see the plan, and look, it takes time. I know it's frustrating as Jets fans, and there's probably nothing that a Jets fan wants to hear less than it takes time or patience. Jets fans like, I'm sick of it. I don't want to be patient anymore. But the truth is, just like you put so eloquently, we're the youngest team in the NFL. Our coaching is, among the newest coaching staff in the NFL. And like you said, the injuries and all that sort of stuff, we literally are in our first year with Joe Douglas being the sole GM. Last year, he was on an equal footing with Adam Gase. And you have to know that. Like Joe Douglas was not above Adam Gase in this organization. They were on the same. So you got to know that there was a lot of infiltration of Adam Gase's 2 cents into a lot of these things. So Joe Douglas is the GM for the first year, and this is everybody's first year. So it is going to take time. But I feel similarly that Joe Douglas is doing a great job, man. Not perfect. I mean, there's lots of moves that I don't like and things I would have done differently, but I can see the plan, and that goes a long way with me. So, Jeremy, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm wondering, in the last 10 years, Bizmo, is there any particular jet that stands out as your favorite? Like, was there a jet you really loved more than any other, or one or two of them?
Oh, it's got to be Tim Tebow, doesn't it? I had the shirt and all. The funny story about that is my mate, he's a San Diego Chargers fan and has me just landed in a purple patch with his quarterback the last couple of years. But it was when I was talking to him one day about when they made the trade with the Broncos and we got Tim Tebow, and I was like, Tim Tebow, baby. And I was being sarcastic, and he took it that I loved the guy. So he went to the States and bought me his jersey. But anyway, it was a lovely gesture. Look, players are probably, I love it when, people talk about their favorite player and, you hear the sort of the big names come up. But I don't know. It sounds really weird, but I keep close eye on the punters and the kickers. I actually probably find them. I mean, everyone loves the quarterback, don't they? That's your main guy. But Braden Mann, I think he's an Aussie bloke. It was the guy that we also
Lachlan Edwards.
Lachlan,
Edwards.
Yeah, Lachlan Edwards. Yeah. That's him. Sorry, appreciate that. He's so one of our codes, which is AFL, which is another football code we play here. I mean, that's where you guys get a lot of your punters from. They're all they can kick a football a long way. So I like the kickers. The kickers I keep an eye on them. But someone that I follow, probably not so much. Back to the Nick Folk days, I didn't mind him, I suppose. But who likes kickers? No one really.
I know.
A weird thing to say.
Well, we love Patrick Leahy, so
thank you, Jeremy. I was going to say the same thing. Ever since Pat Leahy was our kicker for I think 17 years, something like that, and he was so good. He was third in the NFL history in scoring at the time. And then one year, I forget what year, but I remember the game and everything. Pat Leahy got sciatica. And all of a sudden, he was like one of the best kickers in the NFL. Overnight, he couldn't make a 30-yard field goal. He couldn't do it. And that year, we had to bring in all these kickers and all that sort of stuff. And it was really sad to see him go. But since then, we really haven't had a consistent kicker. Used a second-round pick on Mike Nugent, brought in guys, that were good, and then they would leave in a year. Mike McCagnon thought it was not a good idea to keep the only kicker that we had that went to a Pro Bowl since Leahy. It's just, I don't know why he wouldn't think that's important. He only made like $3.5 million. Like, what, you're giving Tremaine Johnson $15 million a year, and you won't give a Pro Bowl kicker? So I don't know.
Jason Myers you're talking about?
Yeah, Myers. Right, correct.
Yeah. That was frustrating. Mate, that is frustrating.
Isn't it?
Yeah, he's good. Crazy. He's a good kicker. Yeah.
He's a good kicker. And he made it to the Pro Bowl, which means best kicker in the AFC. And we decided, we didn't even try to re-sign him. And that's the thing too. Like, I'd like Jets fans to remember, like, again, while our GM might not be perfect, right? You got to remember where we're coming from. The devoid, just completely devoid of talent, the unmanaged players and staff. We had a terrible management of this team for 10 years, if not more. Even Tannenbaum, who was fun, wasn't necessarily doing it all in a sound fashion. So when you watch Joe Douglas decide, now we're gonna gut this thing. I'm getting rid of every single player that's not a core player. I'm gonna get as much draft capital as I can, and we're starting from the ground floor. You got to know that's going to take time. And I'm frustrated too. We're all frustrated. But I think it's good to see a GM who's actually staying the course, not feeling that pressure like you were talking about earlier with needing a win for the fans, not feeling that pressure to real quick, just go out and buy a bunch of expensive free agents because the fans will be happy for 10 minutes. We're building through the draft, and building through the draft takes a while. So I think it's pretty good what we're doing right now. So let's get into. We have about 15 minutes left, and I wanted to really get your thoughts on just some specifics. And again, you might not be focusing on the same things we are over here, and that's okay. Like you said, the kickers. I don't know too many other Jets fans who said, I like the kickers. It's just different. It's different point of view. What do you think about our head coach? Yes, he's in his first year, but a lot of Jets fans are kind of disenchanted already. Do you feel the same way, or do you think he's got some redeemable qualities? Where do you stand with Robert Saleh?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm probably more measured these days. I kind of like to just sort of wait and see. I hope that he's okay. I think there's some concerning things about him, but in the way that I suppose Jets fans were probably looking for someone that was just going to be all gas and no break, and he seems to be a little bit more reserved in recent weeks, and I think there's concerns that the defense has sort of declined. That being said, though, was a young defense, and it's had a lot of injuries in key positions, and there's only so much you can do. And I think the defense started surprising a lot of people at the start of the year. Like they started out like, oh, wow, and then when it probably got to where it really should be, in the sense that they're struggling, and particularly with, key players going out like Lawson, and also the safety Marcus May now, and just the rotation of players as well, like safeties in and out. Our other starting safety, I've got his name at the moment.
Marcus Joyner.
Yeah, that we got. He's out. Like, there's only so many things you can patch and cover, and when you don't have, a core team to start with, which we're trying to build that. It's I think it's difficult. It's been nice to see that the defense has gone from being woeful to okay, but it just seems like we can't get both going well at the same time. Like one plays well and the other doesn't. But that's a young team, That's a young team. I think that we could have done well this year if every single thing went right. And a lot of things have gone wrong. So, you got to try and keep it into perspective there. I trying to be optimistic again here. I do remember watching him with the 49ers, and I think the first year the defense was pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
I can't remember. That was the year that their quarterback got hurt. Garoppolo might have, did he blow his knee or something?
Yeah.
And they were out. And that's when
right.
they ended up picking up the edge rusher at the number 2 pick.
Yeah, Bosa.
Yeah.
No, you're
so
nailing
the year
it.
before, they, and I remember people saying, oh, the 49ers are no good, because you keep a track of other teams a little bit, not as much as the Jets. But And then it turned out that he actually was really quite good. So, you know, you're hoping that he needs to just experience, you know, the adjustment to becoming a head coach, and to get across the things that he needs to. Maybe a little bit concerning also with his time management and stuff. You know, like the real key things that you need as a head coach, when
Right.
he doesn't call timeouts, or maybe should throw a challenge flag, doesn't. But you're hoping that he's learning. You're hoping that there's progress, and that's why I think that next year, you know, obviously we hope that we win every game for the rest of this season. That's probably not going to happen, but next year will be okay. Second year in the system, you've had guys in there. Let's see, is this actually going to work or not? And I tell you, if it doesn't, oh, that'll be painful. But
Indeed.
but I'm even open to, look, we don't have to be setting the league on fire. Like I would be happy with next year, you know, being like, you know, a 500 team, making progress in the right way, slowly but surely getting there, building additional players. Of course, I'd love to go, you know, win 12, 13 games next year in the playoffs and, you know, go for a bit of a run. But it's hard when you know you got most of your defense is, you know, late round picks, you know, that wouldn't even normally see the field for years unless, you know, they're an anomaly. But we got plenty of guys in there that are like that. So
Yeah, I agree. Jeremy, I'm real curious to hear I haven't really talked to you so much about Saleh, and I think, you know, Bizmo raises some really good points, man. It's kind of like a you know, a level-headed approach, I think. If I may, Bizmo, I'm calling you level-headed.
thank
But
you.
what do you
Appreciate that.
where do you where do
Most
you
people call me
stand?
hot-headed, so
Oh, is that
that's,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
that's
you're not.
lovely to hear that, actually.
Yes. Oh well, good. I'm glad to help you with this or early morning good news for you. You seem like a level-headed fella, Jeremy. Where do you
Thanks.
stand on Robert Saleh? Do you have any takes that might interest us today?
Well, I mean, obviously, I like him as a character, as a person. I think it's way too early to judge him overall. You know, I think it's, you know, you take over a 2-14 team. It's the youngest team in the league. You're putting in all new systems. Everybody's new, and we're halfway into the season. And, you know, people are already judging or acting like they know what kind of coach he is. If people did that with Belichick when he coached Cleveland, or if people did that with Pete Carroll the one year he was here, you know, and defined him as a coach forever, that would have been a big, you know, that's a mistake. So, you know, I'm holding judgment. I'm hopeful because he's a great person. And and he's not an embarrassment to us, and he represents himself well, and it would be great if he's a great coach. Imagine having a guy turn us around and be a winning team and also be a good person, and a person that's, you can't find any excuses to hate him or anything, like with a lot of these coaches that succeed. But
Yeah.
I think he's had unfair criticism. Like I think that, you know, LaFleur took the blame on that timeout, and, you know, as the leader, Saleh overall responsible, but his responsibility, like in that case, the way they're talking about it, wasn't that he didn't throw that didn't call the timeout on time. It was that he trusted LaFleur. But you're supposed to, as a leader, trust your people. Now
Yeah.
they have to learn from that. And what's really going to define Saleh as a leader is if LaFleur doesn't grow, then he has to show that, you know, to be a great coach, you're going to have to make the hard call, even though you grew up with him. He's like your little brother. If he doesn't learn from it and he keeps doing that to you, then you can't continue to trust the wrong person. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a leader that trusts his people. And then I think he got unfair criticism when he said, it's not my job to motivate the players. Well, you know, I don't sit there and slack off on my job and say my principal didn't motivate me, right? I'm
Mm.
responsible to motivate myself. I don't expect my teachers to educate every day because I didn't go and give them a motivational pep talk. People say it's different, but every leadership class, every time you learn anything about leadership, it always starts with finding the right people. And the definition, and in this case, it's the right players, is players that you shouldn't have to motivate. Guys that love to, like JD says, that love to ball and love to go out there and play that hard. I'm not imagining that Belichick has to give inspirational speeches to get them to play well. I think that you just have to. Your job as the head coach is to find the talent and find people who want to play and put them in a position to win.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, I don't know what's up with you two today. You guys seem very intelligent, well, put together. These are some nice answers. So look, we have a few minutes left. I want to, and I'll do this with you too, Jeremy. I really want to know, this is the second half of the season, and by and large, it's the softer half of the season. That's not to say the teams that we're playing are pushovers or anything like that, but comparatively speaking, this is the weaker half of our schedule. We had a brutal first half. And we came out of there with 2 wins. Maybe we should have had 1 or 2 more. I don't know. But going into this remaining 8-game stretch, Bizmo, what do you see our record coming out as? How many more games do you think we'll win? And what will be our final record at the end of the year from your side of things? How do you see it?
Oh, big question. I probably don't see us winning too many more games the rest of the year. I don't want to be a downer. I think we'll probably more jag games than go out there and outright win them. But I'm hoping to be surprised. I think that this weekend is winnable, depending on how the Jets turn up. The Jets are at home this weekend, aren't they? Or are they down in Miami? No,
we're home.
Yeah. We haven't really played that well at home at times, and sometimes we have played well. So it's kind of like hot and cold. Which team's going to come out? So I know we got to play Miami twice. I know we got to play Buffalo again. I know that we got the Texans. I think the Texans is a winnable game. I don't think we'll beat Buffalo. Who else do we have? We've got to play the Bucks. I know that's the last game, I think.
Houston.
That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Houston, Eagles.
Jaguars, Eagles, right.
The Jags would be really nice. So the games that I think that we could win, Jags were a chance. The Eagles were a chance, depending on which Eagles turn up. I think the Eagles are better than us. I think that we can win the Texans game. I think that we've got the opportunity to split with Miami, but Miami seems to be slightly on the upward curve, even though they're not a great football team either. But you're hoping that their consistency isn't there. So win one, lose one, hopefully. Hopefully there's a bit of pressure on our players to come out and, have a performance like we did against Cincinnati or the Titans. I mean, you look at those guys. I mean, we did win them the hard way, but we won them. We got there. So, yeah, I just think it seems like the Jets are a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, which, in the last couple of weeks they have been. So I think, this one's winnable. So maybe 2-3 wins to finish out the year, which doesn't sound great, but I'm hoping that the back end, Zach comes in, stays healthy. Hopefully the offensive line can stay together as a unit. I wonder if Mekhi Becton's actually even going to come back this year and whether he should, or we just better off leaving that and get him 100%, get him conditioned for next year. It's probably a little bit annoying because that was probably something really to watch, is the guard and the tackle on the left there bond a little bit. But that's what I suppose I'm looking for the rest of the season, is just individual players. Do we are these players going to be here for a long time or not? And what do we need to draft next year? I mean, everyone sort of seems to know what we need or what we would like, but you got to see what you've got, play the young guys, play Mike White, and I wish that organizations would just come out and and talk about where they actually are. You know, like there's so much football speak, and I know they've got to say the right things, but I'd love them just to come out and say, hey, listen, we're the youngest team in the NFL. We want to see what we've got. We want to see, well, this is our vision. We're building here. This is what we want to do. And I know they sort of loosely provide that, but, you know, when you hear Joe Douglas talk, he always talks about, you know, cliches. They all talk in cliches. So that's what I'd love them to see. Come out and say, listen, we're going with Mike White. He was terrible last week. Okay, great. People do play terribly sometimes, but let's see what he's got this week. So a little bit unfortunate, but we'll see what happens.
I like that. So
going in for a win this week, just like every week.
Before Jeremy answers, because I want to hear his thoughts, Phil Adams reminds us that if we do get to 5 wins, which would be 3 more, that would be a 125% improvement on last year with the youngest team in the NFL. And that wouldn't be too bad, I think. So, Jeremy, how do you see the rest of the season going? Good, bad? Where are you?
Well, first, I want to say it would actually be 150% improvement because we, you know, the one, but because we doubled the game and then 1 out of 2 is 50. But I'm a math teacher. I see us
go. Even better. You see that? Take that, Phil.
I think that we're 100. I think that 3 and 5. And a lot of people say it in the chat, and that was my first thing that I thought to myself, that 3 and 5 is probably the rest of the way is probably the most realistic, like sensible, and defendable answer, based on the fact that we are in the easiest chunk and patch of the schedule. There are winnable games there. There are other teams that are struggling too on our schedule moving forward. I think that it's also possible we only win 2. And it's also possible we end up winning 4 more. So, like, I think, you know, those are like the small percentages, 20%, and then kind of like in the middle, 60%, we win 3 more games. Well, actually, you got to leave a little bit for we don't win any more games. You got to leave some percentage that we win out.
Totally.
But I think if we win 5 games, it'll be like, okay, it'll be bearable. I really would love to see 6, like 6 and 11 would be fine. 2 and 14 to 6 and 11. It still puts a ton of pressure on this, you know, management, because then they have to come out next year and win their 8, right? When somewhere in the middle like that, like Bizmo was saying. But I know that this is the thing that I've been thinking about and I'm harping on right now. We cannot afford to go into, you know, the game tomorrow and get blown out by Miami. Yeah. If that happens, this is going to, you think it's bad now. If we get blown out by Miami and we're not competitive tomorrow, it's going to be a tremendous problem. It's going to be really hard to stop people are going to start abandoning ship on Saleh, on JD. It's going to get really, really ugly, and it's going to be hard for us to come out here on these shows and defend it. Like, there's just it's got to be at worst a very competitive game. Otherwise, we're in big trouble.
That's a scary thought. Like you said, I mean, it's hard enough to try to be constructive now. If we get blown out by Miami, I might not make a podcast this week. I might just leave it be, you know, let sleeping dogs lie, so to speak. But yeah, man. So we got a lot of predictions, you know, 3 and 5, 2 and 6, 5 wins at the end of the year. I think we're all kind of on the same page for the most part. Fire Joe Douglas came in and he said he looks like a 42-17 loss to the Dolphins. And look, the truth is he's got more ammo to support that answer these past few weeks than anybody else saying the Jets are going to win. I do think we're going to win. I mean, I really actually do think we're going to win. And I think it's going to be a closer game. But I'm basing that on a lot of hope, you know. 42-17 Dolphins. I mean, look, we haven't stopped anybody the last few weeks. So it's a realistic answer when you come out and say that. That sort of stuff. But here we are. We are at the end of the show. I want to say thank you to Bizmo Charismo. It is, again, you guys, this show started at 2 a.m. for him down there in Australia. And really, man, I'm impressed and I'm grateful that you were able to come on and spend some time with us. I hope, like AC said before, I hope the Jets can give guys like yourself a little something to root for with your commitment from pretty far away. Let's be real here. You're not exactly down the street, and you've been a dedicated and committed fan. So I do hope, even if not for me, for you, I hope that the Jets can give you something. But I want to thank you for being here, man. Jeremy as well. Bizmo, anything you want to say before we bounce out of here?
Look, thanks for having me on. It was a real pleasure. I was surprised that you asked me on, but thank you very much. And I'd just say, go week to week, guys. Always go for the win. Stay positive. We will be good one day.
We will be good.
Hey, Bizmo, if I ever come down there, put another snag on the barbie for me.
I will, mate.
He was waiting
shrimp.
all day.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie. We call them prawns down here, but yeah,
but someone taught me like he goes, we say prawn, but then he said, but if you really want to look like you know what you're talking about, say snag for a sausage.
Yeah, that's right. Bunning snag, mate. If you want to be real pro, you got to go and get a bunning snag. Everyone knows what that is in Australia. Okay. Yeah, it's a hardware store in Australia.
A bunning snag. Okay,
yeah.
See, this is good.
So it's like like Lowe's in America.
Yeah.
So we have a chain here called Bunnings, and everyone knows about the Bunning snags they sell out the front. So
nice.
So see that you go to a hardware store and get the sausage, the snags.
We get a slice of bread. You put a sausage on there, and you put onions on there, tomato sauce, and barbecue sauce, whatever else you want, and away you go. It's delicious.
Nice.
It does sound delicious. Amen. I love it. So yeah, man. Thanks again. And Jeremy, thank you. Before we go, Jeremy, you wanna let anybody know about anything?
I say it a million times. They know the deal. I'll keep saying it. Frankie from Flatbush. Go to his channel. Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. I'm on there too sometimes on Sunday mornings and Thursdays earlier before GreenBean show. So sometimes you can see me with John Post. But mostly Frankie from Flatbush, Friday nights, Sunday evenings, and then of course we got our show here. So that's me.
Right on. And I want to remind everybody about the contest we're having right here. For my 1-year anniversary on YouTube, I'm trying to get up to 5,000 subs. All you have to do to be entered is subscribe to this channel and subscribe to my full-time Coaster Tour channel on YouTube. Once you do that, you are in. You can win a t-shirt from the GreenBeanjetsfan.com merch store. And one lucky winner will get that plus the Ultra Smooth package from Manscaped. And if you were thinking about subbing, now's the time to do it. You can get something back, and every subscriber is already entered into the contest. But I want to thank the chat, best chat in the business, man. I love you guys. Thanks for being here with us from wherever you might be today. And hopefully the Jets will give us a win tomorrow, and we could all have something happy to talk about, or at least be competitive. Well, if we lose by 30-29 or something like that, I would take that too, quite frankly, even though I hate the Miami Dolphins more than any other team in the NFL. So I want to win. But all right, guys, for Bizmo, for Jeremy, for myself, thank you all for being here, and we will see you next time.
I think he's going to be day one, a violent vertical edge setter.